Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another video. My name's Gareth James for mttpokerschool.com. Today we're going to be taking a look at my 5 biggest triple barrel fails of 2021 so far. If you're new to the channel, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and let's get into the first hand. Alright, so first up we've got this 10-9 suited hand. This comes from a 109 during scoop. We go for the raise from early position and sick one in the big blind. It's Class, I want to say Class Segerbrecht or something like that. I probably completely butchered the name, but yeah, very, very well known and very good pro. So he calls from the big blind. Flop comes ace, king, 4 with 2 diamonds. We've got 2 spades. There's just 1 heart on the board. He checks and we go for a big bet, which I think is good. It's going to be big bet or check probably on this board. He goes for the call. Turn is a 4 of spades, pretty interesting card. He checks once again and we bet once again. And you can see that I'm using the bigger size once again. It looks like, I want to say 2/3 pot. And presumably this is to be able to size up for about 2/3 pot on the river. So you can see there's 24 back and around 36 in the middle. So yeah, the big blind checks and yeah, we go for the jam and he calls. So yeah, as I said at the start of this video, this is our 5 biggest fails. And what we want to find out is, what does the solver say, and does it think that this is a good triple barrel bluff, or is it really, really bad? So when I selected these hands, I didn't cherry pick like 5 amazing hands where the triple barrel is absolutely fine, we just happened to run into it. I've chosen a bit of a selection. I haven't actually looked at the solver solutions, but I have re-looked at some of the hands and I thought, yeah, this maybe not so good. But this one, though, I think was actually pretty good. So let's see if the solver agrees. Let's pull it up in PIOSolver. All right, so here we go then in Pio. This dark red color is the big bet. And you can see there's no small betting. That would be this kind of pinky salmony color, I guess. And then this green minty color is check. So yeah, as we can see, let's have a look at 10-9 of spades. Looks like we're going for a bet most of the time, but there is some checking as well. So yeah, so far so good, I think. Big blind calls and the turn is the 4 of spades. And pretty amazing to see here how much leading the big blind does. He's going to have way more 4x than we are, and this is why he gets to lead this card in particular. Let's just pull up the comparison window here. This is a really cool feature. We can just have a look and see how good a 4 is. Not quite as good as a diamond completing the flush, because you think about, the big blind's going to have quite a lot of flush draws on the flop. So when the diamond comes in on the turn, his equity is going to be much, much higher. But after that, you can see the 4 is the next best card that he could hit. So yeah, decent amount of leading here. But he did just go for the check. And you can see now we mix between small bet and big bet, and with a tiny amount of checking as well. So yeah, I mean, maybe we end up having too many bluffs by the river if we always bet 10-9 of spades here for a big bet. But yeah, I mean, so far so good, I would say. He goes for the call and the river is the queen of clubs. And you can see now what his range looks like. So you can see like lots of ace x and king x, a little bit of queen x as well, like queen x of diamonds too. And then there are some combo draws as well, 5x, basically 5-3 of diamonds and 5-2 of diamonds. So let's take a look then. Was the triple barrel any good? Check from our opponent, and 10-9 of spades. You can see bottom right hand corner, full frequency bluff, full frequency, pull the trigger, and let's take a look now at what we're trying to get to fold. So we definitely get to bluff this hand, which is great. So I'm pretty happy about this bluff. We can get some ace x hands to start folding, but the real big chunk is the king x and queen x hands that do fold here. So yeah, really, really good to see. To sort of like be able to visualize what you're actually trying to achieve here with your bet. Interestingly, he does start to fold some like ace 9, ace 8, ace 7. Same thing goes on down here as well. You can see that we're making his ace x hands indifferent at this point, which is also pretty good to see. So yeah, I think the reason why, for example, like ace 10 plus is a pure call, but then start to see some drop off in the 9x region, is because we're probably going to be bluffing with a lot of hands with a 9 and 8, a 7, 6 and 5, etc. in them. So yeah, we can see that like, we're bluffing with 10-9, 10-8, 9-8, and we're also bluffing with some small pairs here as well. So he doesn't want to have like ace 5, ace 6, ace 7, ace 8 blocking some of these bluffs. I guess this brings about a really important point in poker, that, you know, just because you win the hand doesn't mean that you play the hand well, and just because you lost the hand doesn't mean that you played the hand badly. Sometimes you're going to have a hand that you get to triple barrel bluff, and your opponent is going to have a hand that they need to bluff catch with, and it doesn't mean that either of you played the hand poorly. It's just the way that the hand was supposed to go. So I'm pretty happy with my play in this hand. We will get to some hands in a moment when I'm definitely not happy, and I've almost got my head in my hands as we go through it. But this one seems pretty good. Let's go on to the next one. All right, so this next hand is, yeah, bit of a car crash from start to finish, I would say. Let's take a look at what happens. We raise from EP with king queen off, and the big blind calls. Flop comes 9-4 deuce rainbow, and this is where the car crash begins. We lose control of the car, and we go for a big bet. I'm not really sure why I chose to big bet this spot. I think we can actually just get away with betting small, but for some reason in this moment I went for a big bet. He calls ace of clubs on the turn, and you might think, okay, yeah, pretty good good card to bet, although your opponent is going to be continuing with hands like some ace x, certainly with some backdoor flush draws. You know, the best ace x can call here, but also a hand like 5-3 just improves and is obviously never ever folding. So yeah, I'm not sure this is good. I go for the big bet. I don't think it's good. I think at this stage we do actually beat some hands still, right? So there are hands like Jack 10 with a backdoor flush draw, Queen 10 with a backdoor flush draw, Queen Jack, King 10, King Jack. All of these hands that we're actually still ahead of. So yeah, I'm really not sure why I chose to bet here. I don't think it's good. Maybe in the solver in a moment we'll see that it's actually, you know, really good, but I can't see how it would be. I think we just, you know, the better line is just going to be to go ahead and check back. He calls, the river's the 8 of spades, and we go for the triple barrel, obviously, because all of these hands are triple barrel fails. And yeah, big blind does call. And so yeah, we're just trying to get hands like 9x to fold, I guess, at this point. Some hands like 2x of clubs. I'm not sure what kind of 8x of club hands he could possibly have at this point, but you know, that's a hand potentially that he could have that folds on the river. So yeah, we're really just trying to target his showdown value hands that can't call versus this triple barrel. So yeah, let's take a look at the solver and see what it says. My guess is that we should go small on the flop and then probably just check turn and river. But yeah, as played, let's see what it does. All right, so lots of small betting. This is what this lighter red or pinky color is. Not so much checking, but yeah, we should be going for the small bet here. King queen off. There's like a tiny amount of big betting, but I think yeah, just default to the small bet. The big bet is really coming from hands like ace 9 and king 9 and 10s and jacks a little bit as well. So yeah, I would say that we should just go for a small bet. So that's the biggest takeaway here. We don't need to be using the big sizing. I think it's like, as I said before, like I'm not sure why I did it, because it's not like I think, okay, yeah, all low boards should be big bet or check. Like it's more the sort of the low connected boards that we get to use a big bet or check strategy on. But here you can see that yeah, sure, the 4 and the 2 are connected, but the 9 and the 4 not really connected. Let's take a look at equities. So we're 60% equity. Let me just pull in Range Explorer here, and we can have a quick look at really strong hands on this board. So 2 pair plus 2% for in position, 1.8% for out of position. So they just don't have too many. I mean, they do have some sets and some 2 pair, but they just start with a really wide range in the first place. So yeah, always important to look at the proportion of the range rather than the total number of combos, because you can see like out of position here has way more combos, but it's a smaller sort of percentage or fraction of their overall range. And I think this is one of those common misconceptions. People look at this and go, okay, it's way better for their big blinds range. They're going to have, they've got way more combos, so therefore we can't bet it, right? But that's not true. Like, we've got more equity, as we've just seen, and we've actually got, a similar amount of combos proportionally. Okay, but if we did go for the big bet, we can see that now on the turn, we are just going to go pure check and just go back one move. You can see, I was talking about like King Jack, King 10, Queen Jack, Queen 10. Yeah, some of the, sort of this portion of hands. Also, there's some King Jack, Queen Jack as well that we can, that we're still ahead of, right? So we don't need to bet and try and get these hands to fold. Ace X is not going to fold. 2x of clubs is not going to fold. 9x of clubs is not going to fold. I mean, let's just have a quick look. So you can see like all the hands that we're really trying to get to fold, we we're either chopping with or we're ahead of. We do get some weaker pairs to fold. We do start to get some 4x and some 2x to fold. On the whole, I think we just need to go for the check, and that's going to work out much, much better. So the 8 of spades on the river, and as you can see, we can't even see what we should do with this hand. It was a complete blunder. We just shouldn't have king queen off ever here. We should be going for a pure check on the turn. But yeah, I mean, when we do bet, we do get some 9x hands to fold. We do block some of the hands that will potentially fold, but I guess we block some hands here that will call as well. But yeah, we can't get ace-x to fold. We're not going to get 2 pair to fold. We're not going to get a straight to fold. And also, he does have some weaker hands like some pairs down here that unblock bluffs that, yeah, he can potentially call with as well. So yeah, I think just overall, just a pretty poorly played hand. Should be betting small on the flop, should be checking turn, and yeah, the hand doesn't even exist on this node or this branch of the game tree. So just yeah, just really poorly played by me. Again, this is really just showing you how important it is to review hands. Like the first hand, super good. Second one, absolute butcher of a hand. Yeah, just really didn't like it. Let's quickly move on and take a look at hand number 3. If you got to this part of the video and you haven't been asking yourself, well, what happened in hand 1? What did he call with? What happened in hand 2? What did he call with? Then massive congratulations from me, because that is how I think we should be approaching this. But I'm sure that many of you are looking at this and thinking, I just got to know. Show me what they had in hands 1 and 2. Well, all right. I'll show you. It's not something that I really want to do. We don't want to be focusing on the results. We just want to be focusing on whether or not our play was any good. But let's go back to hands 1 and 2 and take a look at the result. Right, so in hand 1 then, we did go for the jam, and he calls, and he had ace-8 off, which is a fine call. I think it's probably going to be indifferent, but maybe if we do have this hand at full frequency across flop and turn, then it's an even better call from his point of view. So yeah, shout out to him. Nice call. Let's look at hand 2. Once again then, we went for the jam, he calls, and he ended up having ace-queen off. And yeah, we got really punished in this hand, I would say. All right, let's skip to hand number 3. I will show you the result, even though I don't really want to, but I know, as I said, that lots of you like to see what villain calls with. So yeah, hand 3, here we go. So we're on the button here with queen 10 off, and the big blind calls. Flop comes jack 8-4. We go for a bet, which I think is probably fine. The turn is the king of spades, and we do have a spade in our hand. So at this point, I'm thinking, well, we have a straight draw, and we could potentially bluff some spade rivers, right? So this looks pretty good. Go for the big bet, and he calls, and the river is the 10 of hearts. And for some reason, I decided to bet here. And once again, I just have no idea why I chose to do this. We have showdown value, right? He can still have some 8x hands. He can have hands that are worse than ours at this point. So why am I choosing to bluff? It doesn't make sense. As promised then, let's take a look at what this player had. He ended up having jack 9 off. And yeah, well played him. This is definitely one of those situations where you're looking at it and you think, why am I doing this? Like, I know this isn't right. I can just check back. So it just blows my mind sometimes. You know, maybe this is a good example of like why we shouldn't play 95 tables at a time, because we're not thinking hands through well enough. But yeah, this is just not good. I think flop's going to be fine. I think turn is probably okay, but river, just check. Come on. All right, so queen 10 off is a mix of all things, really. We could go for a small bet, we could go for a big bet, or we could check. We went for the small bet, and villain called, and then the king of spades on the turn. And he checks, and queen 10 off looks good. It actually, you know, turn looks very, very good. We go for the bet, and he calls. And then the river is the 10 of hearts, and he checks once again. And as you can see, queen 10 off, just going for the pure check back. Just, yeah, as predicted. I don't even think this is a particularly good hand to review. Like, it's just obvious that this was going to be the case here. I think maybe a flaw in my logic in hand, sort of like in game in the moment, was just that, oh no, we can get some jack X to fold. So yeah, we should definitely go for a bet. But the thing is, if we go back to the flop, you can see that yeah, there's a decent amount of jack X going for a raise here. Yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of jack X going for a raise on the flop. So on the turn, when we go for a bet, sure there are, there's some Jack X still in there, but then on the river when we go for the bet, yeah, there's just really not so much Jack X that we can really target in this spot. So the kind of hands that we're thinking that we can get to fold, the better hands that we can get to fold, it's a narrow portion of his range anyway, and it's been significantly reduced because he's going to raise them on the he's going to raise a jack on the flop, and sometimes he folds a jack on the turn. So yeah, poor logic, poor hand, not very good. Flop and turn absolutely fine. Just check back the river, got showdown value, move on to the next hand. That's exactly what we should do right now. Let's move on to hand 4. So folds to us on the button with pocket 2s. We go for the raise, and internet to 9-3 off decides to go for the call. And I just stumbled across this guy's Instagram account just before I was recording this, and yeah, it's pretty amazing. So he won a WPT for 500k. I think it's I'm trying to work this out. I guess I'm trying to work out what the emojis mean, but yeah, Sunday Million 354k, GG high roller main 232k, etc, etc. There's like 2 scoops in here. There's a Brazilian BSOP event as well. So a ton of events here that he's had a podium finish on, and yeah, so pretty good player, or probably exceptional player. And we decided that we would triple barrel bluff pocket 2s on this board. So let's go back to it and take a look. Yeah, so let's see what happens. We go for the bet, and this is good. It's good so far, I think. Turn, yeah, pretty reasonable, I think, to pull the trigger now. I think we can get better hands to fold. He could still have maybe a jack or a 5 that folds. And also, I think there could be a hand like, I don't know, 10x a club hand that folds by the river, or 5x a spade or jack x a spade hand that folds by the river as well. So I think this is reasonable. I think the solver's going to like this. And then on the river, well, we could have a flush, we could have a straight. So yeah, I think we can pull the trigger. So we jam river here, and he calls, and he ends up having jack 9 off for a straight, and he has the 9 of clubs blocker as well. So yeah, I think this is good poker all round, actually. I think this is going to be a good call from him, and I think that my bluff is also good too. Now, you might be looking at this and thinking, yeah, but you lost the hand, so how could it possibly be good? Well, this is what I was saying earlier, guys. Just because we lost the hand doesn't mean that it was particularly bad. We can definitely get better hands to fold by the river, but if you don't believe me, then let's take a look at the PIO solution, and fingers crossed it agrees with what I'm saying. All right, so pocket 2s is going for a small bet. That looks good. I'm pretty happy with that. If you're wondering why there's so much grey here, it's because 2s isn't a full frequency open at 30 bigs. So we go for a small bet, and our opponent does go for the call. He has jack 9 off. Turn is the 10 of spades. He checks, and you can see that our hand does go for a bet once again. We did have a 2 of clubs in our hand, I believe. So there is a little bit of checking, but mainly going for the big bet, and he's not folding a pair and a gut shot at this point, so good play from him as well. And then a queen of clubs on the river. He checks. He's going to check everything here, and you can see pocket 2s, even if it doesn't have a club, does go for the jam here. So yeah, I think this is pretty good. And let's take a look, and he is definitely supposed to call with jack 9 off. So yeah, pretty happy with this. And I think it's important that we look at the kind of hands that we get to fold in this spot when we are bluffing. So yeah, we very rarely, if ever, win at showdown. Let's just have a look at what our equity is with pocket 2s. Yeah, I mean, it's diabolical, right? So we very rarely, if ever, win at showdown. I mean, that showed we have 0.3% equity. I think just overall, we're just going to lose this hand, all the time. But yeah, let's take a look at what we can actually beat. Let's take a look at what we can actually get to fold. So we can get some king X hands to fold now. So everything that's not king X of clubs. You got to think like we could have an ace and we could have a 9. I'm not sure. Actually, let's just go back. Do we jam with a 9? No, we don't. Okay, cool. That's good to see. So a 9, we're just going to check back, and but we can get it in with an ace. So the nut straight we can jam. So yeah, we can get some king X hands to fold. We can get a hand as strong as queen 5, like 2 pair, queen 10, queen jack, 2 pair to fold as well. So these are all better hands that if we check, we just lose to. All this king X hand all these king X hands down here too. There's some jack X hands as well, and then also some 5x of spade hands here too. So yeah, plenty of hands that we can get to fold. So that is why hands like 2s, 3s, and 4s make their way into a triple barrel bluffing range, because there are better hands that will fold here, and that's what we want when we're bluffing. So 2 pretty good hands, 2 pretty bad hands. Let's take a look at the final hand, and yeah, this is definitely a fail, but let's just see if you can work out why it's a fail. We're now going to take a look at the fifth fail here, and you'll notice that it's a little bit different, right? Because this time I don't think we were bluffing, but we really can't value jam the river, so I've absolutely no idea what's going on. Let's take a look at it. So we open with king 10 of hearts, big blind calls, flop comes king queen 7, we go for a small bet on the flop. Turn is the 8 of spades, pretty much a blank, so I think we are going to see some big bets on this turn. So we go for the overbet, and this is the geometric sizing, and he calls. And now you can see we have just over pot left behind, and for some reason I choose to jam. And in the moment, again, in game, I must have thought, yeah, this is definitely a value jam, because we could get called by weaker hands. We could force him to call with a queen. I mean, he's never folding better, so I wasn't thinking that we were bluffing. But this is just, again, like the queen 10 hand from earlier on, that it just doesn't make sense, right? If we go for the big bet on the turn, we just got to go for a pure check on the river. So yeah, this is not good. Let's see if the solver agrees. Before we do that though, let's look at the result. He ends up having king 8 off. So you might, I think I remember this hand actually. Again, I think it was probably during the scoop. And I remember going, oh, well, it's just a cooler, never mind. Let's move on to the next hand. And this is definitely an example of winner's tilt, right? I think it probably came like the day after I'd won my first scoop. And yeah, it's a lot easier to look at this. You just won a scoop for 41k, and you're like, oh well, yeah, it's just a cooler, never mind, ran into it, let's move on, let's load another tournament. But actually, this is just bad, right? This is just really, really bad. And yeah, let's review it and learn from it so that we're not making the same mistake in the future. All right, so once again in Pio, let's have a look. King 10 of hearts, bottom right, you can see that it mainly goes for a big bet actually. There is some small betting though, so not completely terrible. But yeah, probably should just go for a big bet here. Our opponent does call. The turn is the 8 of spades and a check. And yeah, so this is what I was saying earlier, that I thought that this is pretty much a blank. It doesn't complete any draws. And yeah, we should be using the polarizing bet sizing, which is going to be the geometric sizing, which is yeah, 1.2x pot. So yeah, king 10 of hearts mixes between overbet and check. But yeah, it doesn't seem too bad so far. Our opponent calls. They have king 8. And then the river was the 4 of clubs. They check. And yeah, as predicted, we just basically it's just way too thin to want to jam here. Like, we got to think like what worse hands are going to call here. So yeah, maybe I looked at this and I thought, okay, yeah, I can definitely triple barrel here, and he's going to call with all the weaker king X hands. So let's just see if that is actually true. Well, he's got king jack. That's better than our hand. King 8, obviously. King 7, king 4, and then he starts actually folding some of the hands that we want him to call with, right? So king 9 and king 6 and king 5. So yeah, it's just way too thin. We can't jam here. And I think yeah, this is a really, really big lesson. I guess it's like the queen 10 hand as well, right? We could have just checked back. We've got showdown value. We don't need to go too crazy. But in this spot, once we go small bet on the flop and we go for the overbet then on the turn, his range is really, really strong. And also on the river, like, he doesn't call with enough hands that we beat. So we're just, I guess, value owning ourselves, but it's not a value bet. It's not good enough to be a value bet. It's too thin. We should have gone for the check. But I think, again, this is a really good example of why review is so important. And also, you might think that, yeah, this is a good triple barrel, but it ends up really just being sort of like a nothing type hand. Like, is it a value bet or a bluff? But we don't get enough worse hands to call, but we're not getting better hands to fold. So like, what is it? Like it's just rubbish, right? That's basically what it is. It's just rubbish. We should just check we have shown a value and move on to the next hand. All right, so I'm going to wrap things up there for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a like, and maybe you can drop a comment down below with what you think about this, about the whole video. That would be absolutely fantastic. I'm going to be back soon with a brand new video, but until then, take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.